April 5th, 2026. Easter Sunday, the sun is rising over Iran. 155 American warplanes are in the air. Bombers have just dropped 100 giant bombs on Iranian roads to prevent the Iranian army from advancing. 2 American transport planes are stuck on an abandoned runway, and the United States Army itself is going to blow them up so they don't fall into enemy hands. And in the mountains of Iran, a group of Navy SEALs, the same elite unit that took out bin Laden, is carrying a wounded colonel who spent 48 hours hiding in a rock crevice, alone, with a pistol and 3 words on the radio: God is good. This operation shouldn't have worked, and Iran swears it didn't. 155 planes, hundreds of soldiers, almost 10 aircraft destroyed, all for a single man. The obvious question is, was it all worth it? The answer, well, it's not what you expect, but to understand it, we need to go back 2 days. Since the end of February 2026, the United States had been at war with Iran. The military operation was called Epic Fury, and for weeks the American army dominated Iranian airspace with almost no resistance. American officials said that Iran no longer had the capability to fight in the air. The Iranian Navy had been destroyed, the Air Force eliminated, everything seemed under control, but on April 3rd, something changed. At dawn, an American F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jet, one of the most advanced in the world, was on an attack mission more than 300 kilometers inside Iranian territory. This plane belonged to the 494th Fighter Squadron, one of the most decorated squadrons in the U.S. Air Force. The same one that, 2 years earlier, had been responsible for shooting down more than 80 Iranian drones and missiles in a single night, in the largest air battle in over 50 years. Keep that detail in mind. On board there were 2 crew members, the pilot and the weapons systems officer, the person responsible for operating the plane's radars, sensors, and weapons. This officer was an experienced and respected colonel, described by those who served with him as a man of deep faith. The plane's call sign was Dude 44. An Iranian missile hit the engine. President Trump himself later said it was a lucky shot, but luck or not, the damage was done. This was the first manned American combat aircraft to be shot down by enemy fire in 23 years. The last one had been in Iraq in 2003. At that time, the rescue was successful. This time, no one knew if it would work. The myth that the United States fully controlled Iran's skies ended then, and the squadron, which 2 years earlier had humiliated Iran in the air, now had a plane scattered across an Iranian mountain and 2 men lost on the ground. The 2 crew members ejected but landed kilometers apart from each other in the middle of the mountain range in southwestern Iran. From that moment on, 2 parallel races began. The pilot, referred to in military codes as Dude 44 Alpha, was located first. The Air Force sent rescue helicopters into Iran in broad daylight. They flew for 7 hours over enemy territory. They managed to get the pilot, but the escape was brutal. General Dan Kane, America's chief of staff, said that the helicopter carrying the pilot was shot at by every person in Iran who had a gun. Crew members were injured. Another helicopter that was accompanying them was also shot at. And there was more. An A-10 Warthog plane, a model specifically made to provide fire support on the ground, which was covering the rescue, was hit by enemy fire. The pilot managed to fly to Kuwait, ejected over safe territory, and the plane crashed. In other words, to rescue a single pilot, the Americans had already lost 2 planes and had several wounded. But the bigger problem hadn't even started yet, because the second crew member, the colonel called Dude 44 Bravo, had disappeared in the mountains. And what happened in the next 48 hours turned into one of the biggest manhunts in modern military history. No one knew where the colonel was, neither the Americans nor the Iranians. On the Iranian side, the reaction was immediate. The Revolutionary Guard, which is Iran's most powerful military force, separate from the conventional army, isolated the entire province of Kogiluya and Boyar Ahmad in the southwest of the country. State television went on air, asking the population to help with the search. First, the TV ordered people to shoot at any American aircraft spotted. Then they changed the instructions. They wanted the colonel alive. A reward of $60,000 was offered to anyone who turned in the American. And it wasn't just soldiers who went out searching. Nomadic tribes from the region, the Bakhtiari, armed with hunting rifles they used to protect their cattle, formed groups and went into the mountains. These tribes know every trail, every cave, every pass in those mountains. They are hunters by nature. Videos that circulated later showed these men in traditional clothing, carrying rifles and Iranian flags, searching the hillsides. In one of these videos, a girl calls out to her father, who is aiming a rifle at a low-flying American helicopter. "Hit it, Dad!" The father then fired and hit it. The helicopter was hit, but it managed to keep flying. It was an entire country hunting a single man. Meanwhile, the colonel was alone, injured, with a twisted and bleeding ankle. He had only a pistol and an emergency radio with a secure signal, so only the Americans could hear. And the survival training that every American soldier receives, called SEER, a program that teaches how to survive, evade, resist, and escape in enemy territory. And that's exactly what he did. He treated his own wounds. He climbed a mountain ridge over 2,000 meters high and squeezed himself into a crevice in the rock, where he hid. He knew he couldn't use the emergency signal on the radio for very long. If he left it on for too long, the Iranians could pick up the signal and find him first. So he transmitted briefly and quickly, then turned it off. Above him, American MQ-9 Reaper drones, unmanned aircraft controlled remotely, were flying over the area, keeping watch. Whenever any armed person got too close, less than 3 kilometers away, the drones would attack. That was the only protection he had. But the clock was ticking, and thousands of people were closing in around him. That's when the CIA stepped in. And the move they made changed everything. The agency launched a disinformation campaign inside Iran. They spread the false information that the colonel had already been rescued, and that he was being taken out of the country in a convoy by land. The goal was simple: to make the Iranians chase ghosts while the CIA looked for the real man. And it worked. While Iranian forces chased a false lead, the CIA tracked the colonel's signal and found the crevice in the mountain where he was hiding. The CIA director, John Ratcliffe, compared the operation to finding a grain of sand in the desert. The CIA passed the coordinates to the Pentagon, the United States Military Command Center. But before sending hundreds of soldiers into Iran, they needed to be sure of one thing. Was that signal real, or was it a trap? Because there was a real risk there. The Iranians could have captured the colonel, taken his radio, and been using the signal to lure the Americans into an ambush. And it was at that moment that a 3-word message almost canceled the entire operation. The colonel sent a short transmission over the radio. Just 3 words: "God is good." At the American Command Center, no one celebrated. Silence, worry. Trump himself said that the message sounded like something a Muslim would say. Officials feared it was an Iranian using the captured radio to set up a trap. The sentence was too short, outside military norms, too religious, too suspicious. There was a moment of real tension. If they sent in the rescue team and it was a trap, they would be throwing hundreds of American soldiers into an ambush. If they didn't send it, the colonel would be captured or killed. Someone who knew the man gave the answer. Officers who worked with the colonel confirmed it. He was deeply religious. The sentence was not a trap. It was exactly what a man of faith would say after surviving an ejection. A fall on a mountain, serious injuries, and 24 hours being hunted. Trump authorized the immediate rescue. And what followed was probably the largest military rescue operation since the Bosnian War. 155 planes took to the air. 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 tanker planes to refuel the other aircraft in midair, 13 rescue aircraft. On the ground, Navy SEALs, the famous SEAL Team 6. Air Force Special Operations, Army Aviation, and combat medics. Israel also helped, sharing intelligence and carrying out at least one airstrike to block Iranian forces from reaching the area. The operation took place at night. B-1 bombers dropped about 100 bombs, weighing 2,000 pounds on the roads around the rescue zone. Each bomb weighed almost a ton. The goal was to create huge craters to prevent Iranian vehicles from advancing. Photos published later showed gigantic traffic jams of Iranian military vehicles stuck on destroyed roads, unable to reach the location, unable to do anything. The CIA also sent planes to a fake location 40 kilometers away to confuse the Iranians once again. Trump said that 9 aircraft were sent to deceive the Iranians, while the real operation was taking place somewhere else. 2 C-130 transport planes landed on an abandoned airstrip on a farm in the interior of Iran, near the city of Isfahan. There they set up a temporary base. Small, agile helicopters, the so-called little birds used in special operations, took the commandos to the mountain where the colonel was hiding. The SEALs reached him. He was alive, injured but standing. The retreat happened under fire. Then came the moment that almost turned everything into a disaster. The 2 C-130 planes that had landed on the runway got stuck in the wet sand. They couldn't take off, and they couldn't stay there. If the Iranians found those planes intact, they would have access to top American military technology. The solution was radical. The American command activated an emergency plan. They sent 3 smaller and faster aircraft. All the personnel were transferred, and the 2 C-130 planes were blown up there, along with 4 Little Bird helicopters that had also been used in the mission. They destroyed everything so nothing would fall into Iranian hands. Colonel was taken out of Iran at sunrise on Easter Sunday. No American died in the operation. Now do the math on what the Americans lost in this mission. An F-15E shot down. An A-10 shot down. 2 C-130 transport planes exploded. 4 helicopters destroyed. 2 Black Hawks damaged. Crew members injured. All this to bring a single man back. And here appears a ghost from the past, which makes this story even more powerful. In 1980, the United States tried to rescue 52 American hostages who were being held at the United States Embassy in Tehran, the capital of Iran. The operation was called Eagle Claw. It was a complete disaster. Helicopters failed in the Iranian desert. 8 soldiers died. American planes were abandoned intact on Iranian soil. The whole world watched the humiliation. President Jimmy Carter lost the re-election because of that. And now, in 2026, the parallels were frightening. Again, American planes were stranded on Iranian soil. Again, aircraft were destroyed. Again, the world was watching. But this time the result was the opposite. The 2 crew members were rescued. No Americans died. And the most important difference? In 1980, the Americans abandoned intact aircraft on Iranian soil. In 2026, they destroyed everything before leaving. They left nothing behind, neither man nor machine. Iran itself tried to make the comparison with 1980 to say that the United States had failed again. The Iranian military spokesperson said that the operation was completely thwarted. But the response from the CIA director was direct. Iran was embarrassed and humiliated. And this is where it's worth thinking about something that few people have commented on regarding this operation. Many people look at this story and ask, was it really worth it? Is it really worth risking hundreds of soldiers, 155 planes, and losing almost 10 aircraft just to save a single person? The short answer is yes. But not just for the obvious reason. The principle of no man left behind isn't just a moral issue, it's a military tool. When every American pilot knows that if his plane is shot down in enemy territory, the whole country will stop to look for him, that pilot is willing to fly missions that pilots from other countries wouldn't accept. He goes deeper, takes more risks. Because he knows he won't be abandoned. Rescuing one man doesn't just protect that one man, it protects the willingness of everyone else to put themselves at risk in the future. Every pilot who saw this story knows, if I go down, they'll come get me. And that's why he'll keep flying. Now, think about the other side. When an Iranian soldier is captured, does the regime send 155 planes to get him back? When an Iranian pilot goes down, does the whole country stop? That's the fundamental difference between 2 types of armies. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, may have been the one who best understood the weight of this operation.
By America's dauntless warriors.
He praised the rescue and said, "You are a nation that has repeatedly carried out bold rescue operations. And as someone who was wounded in one of these missions and lost a brother in the rescue, Israelis and I know what a brave decision you made."
I salute you, all of us.
The American Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, summed up the operation with a phrase that connected everything. Shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a rock crevice all Saturday, and rescued on Sunday at sunrise on Easter Sunday.
Everyone home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good.
And General Dan King, Chief of Staff, said something that perhaps explains better than any analysis why this operation succeeded. The most important factor in a rescue is the fighting spirit within the heart of that pilot. The will to survive, to evade, to be rescued, that's all. But the story didn't end there. What Iran said the next day added another chapter to all this. On April 6th, the Iranian government put forward a theory. They said that the rescue operation was actually a cover to steal enriched uranium, the material from the Iranian facilities near Isfahan that can be used to make nuclear weapons. The argument was that the Americans' makeshift base was far from where Colonel fell, closer to the nuclear complex. And this theory gained traction for a reason. Days before the rescue, American newspapers had published reports about a plan in development to use special forces and seize almost half a ton of that uranium from Isfahan. The coincidence between the location of the American base and the position of the nuclear facilities fueled suspicion. But the fact is that so far no concrete evidence has emerged to confirm the Iranian accusation. However, as expected, this version served Iran well because it changed the subject. Instead of talking about how the Americans entered the country, rescued the colonel, and left, Iran got the world discussing whether something else had happened. Stop and think. A man fell from the sky in the middle of Iran. Injured, alone with a pistol and 3 words on the radio. And the world's greatest military power turned the whole country upside down to bring him back. Because there are armies that abandon their own, and there are armies that move heaven and earth to bring a single man back. Now I want to hear from you. After all this, do you think this operation was really just a rescue? Or do you believe Iran's version that there was something more behind it? Leave your opinion in the comments. If this video kept you hooked from beginning to end, go ahead and like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with that friend who enjoys war stories. That really helps the channel grow. And the situation in Iran is still developing. There's a lot going on that we'll keep covering here on the channel, so subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.